Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of AWS Partners Unplugged, a podcast series where we discuss all things related to partners. Today with me is my brilliant colleague, Igor Alexeyev. Igor, always a pleasure speaking to you. Welcome to this podcast where you and I are partners in crime.
Hi, folks. Igor speaking. Always a pleasure.
Today, we're going to chat about a few recent blog posts that you and I have discussed, Igor, and these blog posts showcase how AWS and our amazing partners are helping our joint businesses innovate and solve real-world challenges, right? We've got everything from making AI more accessible to boosting the performance of your data platforms and many other things in between. So let's quickly jump into it, shall we, Igor?
Absolutely, Sri. And actually, this is kind of a new format for us. We wanted to try this a new episode where we will highlight the blogs that we both read and liked, and these blogs usually involve partners. I've been digging into some technical details, and there's some fascinating stuff happening.
Yeah, let's start with the blog post title, Elevating LLM Observability with Amazon Bedrock and Dynatrace. This seems particularly relevant given the increasing adoption of generative AI. What are the key technical takeaways that you see that our listeners should be tuning into?
Yeah, and before I jump in, I want to mention all of these links will be included in the notes, so do not worry, don't need to search, they will be all there for you. So back to Dynatrace. Dynatrace blog highlights how Dynatrace provides end-to-end monitoring and visibility into generative AI applications built on Amazon Bedrock. As organizations integrate LLMs into their business processes, observability becomes a crucial element for ensuring reliability, security, and responsible AI operations. And actually, this is an interesting point because traditionally, applications have been built with observability in mind. It's a standard thing, logs, metrics, and traces. And now when people started building generative AI applications, this was not quite clear how to do it. And several of our observability partners are kind of digging into this. Traditionally, Dynatrace automatically collects insights, traces, logs, metrics, and real-time application data at scale, leveraging its own AI agent, Davis AI. And it uses it for proactive alerting, cost and performance prediction, and maintaining compliance. A key technical challenge is multimodal trends, where interaction between different models needs to be correlated to the entire execution chain. Dynatrace addresses this by providing end-to-end tracing various models and connecting front-end and back components. They also offer predictive operations for AI workloads, including cost projection and optimization, performance degradation, prediction, and anomaly detection.
You know, this, from a business standpoint, this collaboration between Dynatrace and Amazon Bedrock offers significant benefits for our customers, our joint customers, venturing into generative AI, doesn't it? So, for instance, reliable and secure AI operations are indispensable if enterprises need to adopt these technologies. So, Dynatrace, as far as I can tell, helps ensure this by offering guardrail analysis to detect prompt injection attempts. Let's say there's toxic language that's being used, or more catastrophically, let's say there's PII leakage. This solution, with its guardrail analysis, ensures that these things don't happen, or the likelihood of that happening is significantly minimized. This is very crucial, isn't it, to protect not just customer data, but also in terms of protecting the brand reputation, because you really don't want corporations to get into trouble because somebody used toxic language at a very sensitive time and that kind of thing, right? To me, the focus on data governance, compliance, and audit with features like full audit trails and model fingerprinting for version tracking, which goes directly to your point about the multi-model examinations, right? All of those things help ISVs meet regulatory requirements like FIPS, FedRAMP, and the EU AI Act, not to mention GDPR is a big concern. So for ISVs building generative AI applications, integrating with a robust observability platform like Dynatrace can be a key differentiator, I feel, offering their customers peace of mind and accelerating their paths to production. This, to me, is one of the big highlights of this particular technology and highlighted in this blog.
Absolutely, Sri. Dynatrace provides observability across multiple layers, from application interacting with the LLMs down to the infrastructure. And I guess when LLMs were added to the application, and maybe in the future there will be no such a thing as generative AI applications, because every application will be generative AI application.
Exactly.
So we have to have these capabilities of observability baked into the applications with partners' help or AWS help. So this kind of capability includes monitoring orchestration frameworks like LangChain, analyzing the semantic layer in vector databases, observing model providers in Bedrock for token usage latency, and monitoring underlying compute and network resources. The integration with Traceloop's Open LLM Metry, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, further enhances LLM observability by capturing AI-specific KPIs and integrating it with Dynatrace for a holistic view.
Hey, from a branding perspective, I love Open LLMetry because it's essentially taking telemetry and putting it in the context of large language models, trying to, different KPIs to figure out how good the performance is and potentially risks and so on.
Yeah, and I think that follows the trends that's happening in observability. Like in observability, metrics got standardized, right? And the same thing is happening with LLM. It's by extension. So what tools we had available, traditional observability, definitely have to apply to generative AI applications. And this opaqueness, the feeling of opaqueness of the generative AI application must go. Like we need to have full transparency of how these applications operate to gain customers' trust.
The point about opaqueness is a great segue into the next blog, which is about making large language models more accessible. And I know AWS and Intel have come together to make LLMs more accessible and cost effective with DeepSeek. So this is another blog which has been written. How are AWS and Intel collaborating on this front technically, Igor?
This blog focuses on the collaboration between AWS and Intel. The main emphasis on making it accessible and cost-effective for enterprises by highlighting DeepSeek models. DeepSeek models kind of exploded on the stage, showing that you can train or fine-tune or distill models in a more cost-effective way. They emphasize the importance of distilled language models, small language models, or SLMs, sometimes they're called, that maintain high performance while requiring fewer resources and can run directly on CPUs. Amazon EC2 instance is powered by Intel Xeon scalable processors, particularly the 4th generation and above, with advanced matrix processors extension, AMX for short. These are accelerators, significantly boost LLM workload performance by accelerating matrix multiplication.
See, for me, matrix multiplication goes back to the original mathematical concept of putting together two matrices or more matrices to come up with a more optimal set of numbers, right? So in applying that concept, it's exactly that mathematical concept applied in the context of building large language models to be able to optimize the performance of the large language models. That's what it is in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot more technicality to it and mathematics behind it. But
yes, that's correct. Traditionally, matrix multiplication was hardware accelerated in GPUs, right? And then CPUs were not as optimized. So it looks like Intel has created an extension, and it's taking advantage of that extension to be able to run these models locally or on the server, but with CPUs, for example. Amazon EC2 offers flexibility and scalability support in configuration like VLLM that integrate with Docker and the Hugging Face Hub. And Intel provides the optimization for the CPUs through the extensions like the Intel extension for PyTorch that ensures LLM inference is optimized for their processors.
Yeah, they're in the context of concepts, right? I think there's one more concept that I think we need to clarify. You mentioned about distilled models. What are distilled large language models? They are smaller, more efficient versions of large language models that are supposed to replicate, in theory, the knowledge and performance of what's called teacher models, which are the large language models, right? Which is why they are the distilled versions. They are the children of the large language models, which are smaller in nature and therefore much more optimal, much more performant, and all the rest of stuff. Now, of course, LLM distillation is cannot be used all the time, but can come into very important usage when it comes to optimizing these models. In the context of cost efficiency is a huge concern, as you know, from the many partners and customers that you talk to, especially when it comes to leveraging generative AI. So by enabling performed AI on more cost-effective infrastructure, it seems like we're talking about lowering the barrier to entry for many organizations that might have been priced at because of resource-intensive LLMs, right? One of the things we never talk about in the context of LLMs is sometimes it can be very expensive. And so for us to use things like model distillation or the matrix multiplication, the idea is that we can potentially offer more affordable AI-powered solutions to optimize the cost of these existing offerings. The model diversity that AWS offers, which we're very proud about, and which is mentioned in this blog, coupled with these hardware and software optimizations, allows ISVs to find the perfect balance of performance and cost, right, for their specific needs and use cases and whatnot. The open source licensing of DeepSeek models also provides greater flexibility for deployment, which is what you've highlighted as a part of this blog as well.
Exactly. It is very important to have this range of models that ISVs can use, because this is the foundation of their business model. You can be having great quality, but at a cost that your customers cannot afford, and that's not a sustainable business model. And I like how this blog links an example of a specific model, DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 8 billion parameter model that runs on Amazon EC2 M7i 2x large instance, and it details the configuration and the use of Intel's optimization for the CPU. This provides a concrete path for developers to get started with this cost-effective LLM solution.
Hey, if ever I'm in the business of taking hostages in the context of generative AI, I'm going to ask them, tell them, explain to me very quickly, DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 8B model in 2 seconds, or say it 10 times continuously, which obviously even I cannot do.
It is a mouthful, but it's just a model name, and it just highlights what was in there. It's like matrix multiplication. It's simple once you know what it is. You just take two matrices and you multiply them.
Yeah, that's true. Our next blog post is improving MongoDB Atlas search elasticity with Amazon S3. What are the technical improvements that MongoDB has implemented here?
Well, in this particular post, it detailed how MongoDB Atlas team has enhanced the indexing capabilities of Atlas search service by leveraging Amazon S3. Previously, rebuilding search indices required reading the entire MongoDB source collection, which could be time-consuming and burden on the database. Now, Atlas Search periodically backs up the search indices to Amazon S3. When a new search infrastructure is deployed or scaled, it can quickly retrieve the last index snapshot from S3 and rebuild only the changes since the last capture. This resulted in a 14x improvement in index rebuild times compared to the previous methods. The architecture ensures atomic and resilient uploads and downloads to S3. MongoDB leverages S3 lifecycle policies for efficient storage management by asynchronously deleting older snapshots. So it's all around great optimization for MongoDB's capability, leveraging S3 product on AWS, S3 service on AWS.
Yeah, look, 14x improvement is phenomenal. This is obviously because we're able to deliver faster scaling and node rebuilding, right? Which of course results in reduced downtime and improved application availability. Now, this is critical for maintaining obviously positive user experience as well, right? Especially for applications with let's say extremely large data sets in the backend, and in cases where there are high search demands. The fact that this enhancement is transparent, and this is a key, right? The fact that this enhancement is transparent to MongoDB users and requires no changes to the current configuration makes it even more valuable. I don't want to get into a position where I have to tell the users, hey, just shut everything down, let's rebuild everything, let's configure everything and come back to it, which of course, in a real-time or near real-time setting can be extremely problematic. So I love the fact that it's transparent. I really don't have to make any changes up front or changes to the configuration, because automatically everything gets done in the back end. Now, ISVs, because of this, can scale their applications more confidently, knowing that index rebuilding will be significantly faster. And of course, that results in better performance and reliability for the end customers. And so that's from the standpoint of customer obsession, that is really, to me, very, very important and resonates very well.
Absolutely, Sri. The decoupling of indexing layer using S3 also allows for a more scalable and evolving design. MongoDB took advantage of the recently announced conditional writes support in S3 to simplify the prevention of concurrent index uploads. It's basically clashes, right? When two different processes trying to write at the same time. A great example of how ISV partners can improve and augment their product on AWS using our native services.
Last but not the least, let's touch upon unlocking the power of Splunk with Amazon Bedrock, building AI assistants using agents in today's much ballyhooed world of agentic implementations. This is extremely important. What exactly is happening under the hood in the way we interact with Splunk data, Igor?
Well, this blog showcases a solution that leverages Amazon Bedrock agents to create an AI assistant for Splunk. This assistant can transform natural language requests into efficient Splunk search processing language queries, SPL for short. It can execute them, analyze the blogs, and generate findings. It uses Amazon Bedrock agents with action groups and a knowledge base integrated with a vector database. It could be OpenSearch, serverless, or any other vector database. The knowledge base stores Splunk source type mappings for AWS data at data sources. These are additional data sources you can store that can be used by the agent. When a user asks a question in a natural language, the Bedrock agent then uses action groups that contain specialized actions like source type discovery, fields discovery, lookups discovery, or query execution. These actions interact with OpenSearch serverless to understand, in this case, to understand the Splunk environment, figure out the schema types, schemas, lookups, and with Splunk itself via Lambda function serving as an execution engine. This Lambda function runs the generated search queries, and then AWS Secret Manager is used to just store necessary credentials, API tokens, etc. So overall, serverless, secure, agentic application that uses natural language.
One part of my career a long time ago was in observability, and I meet with a lot of customers even today. A lot of them, a significant number of them, rely on Splunk for security and or operational analytics, right? So for those customers, this AI assistant can significantly enhance user productivity by making it easier and faster to query and analyze. That's ultimately what it all boils down to. How quickly and easily can they be able to analyze these logs to do things like threat detection and proactive planning and all. The ability built on top of that to ask questions in natural language makes it even better, right? Now I don't have to worry about the complex scoring that typically I used to be able to do to get insights, but I just can ask questions in plain English. And then the organization can gain valuable insights without needing deep technical expertise. This is one of the more important things that have come out from this collaboration. This, of course, leads to faster identification of security threats, operational issues, and ultimately, improves the system health and reduces the potential for catastrophic threats. Our customers can potentially integrate similar AI assistants into their own platforms to provide more intuitive and a friendly experience for interacting with these kinds of log data, right? The solution being available in the AWS samples repository for testing and deployment is a great way for businesses to get started. And I think, in the notes section, we need to add the availability of AWS samples as a repository so that our listeners can take advantage of that very quickly.
Well, many of the blogs include the actual links to the GitHub repositories. Yes, so listeners will be able to pull out those. But back to the blog, you mentioned interactive dialogue and how users can refine their queries. This is very important. This improves the kind of responses the systems provide based on the raw Splunk query results. And actually, it allows to streamline the log analysis process. You don't get just raw data coming at you. You have some kind of summarization and maybe some even like conclusions that can be drawn sometimes.
This has been a great discussion, Igor, and we get excited when we talk about technical innovation and collaboration and whatnot. But what strikes me as more important? These innovations, these kinds of collaborations between AWS and our various ISV partners are done so with the customer in mind. This is to address real world problems. It truly reflects our reason to be in this business, which is to take care of customer problems and address significant issues that our customers are facing so that their businesses can be more profitable, their end customers are more happy, and so on and so forth. So from that standpoint, to me, to reflect all of this continuous innovation between AWS and our partners in the context of things like operational analytics, generative AI, agentic implementations, data management, you name it, are very important.
Indeed, Sri. These technical advancements we've discussed today are really driving tangible business value for ISVs and their customers. And you can see how our ISV partners can innovate on AWS using AWS services and products to enhance their own services and products. I think another thing I want to highlight, we've just highlighted here, we have here 4 partners. There's different partners. Well, maybe Splunk and Dynatrace are similar in some degree, but they are able to enhance their products in different ways. And it shows how a variety of partners can benefit from AWS services. And another trend I want to highlight, how generative AI slowly percolates and permeates through all aspects of ISV products and services. This is something our partners should be noting and should be continue working with their partner teams on AWS.
I fully agree, and one of the problems in doing a smallish version of this podcast is that we don't have time to showcase all of the innovations. Hopefully, as we do more of these podcasts every month, you and I, Igor, and others, we'd be able to showcase more partners and the kind of work that they're doing with Amazon. In addition to my thanks to you, Igor, I want to thank our listeners for tuning into the AWS Partner Unplugged podcast. We hope you found this discussion helpful. We always welcome feedback. Be sure to check out the AWS Partner Network blog for more updates and success stories. Igor?
Until next time.
Goodbye, everyone.